One is the leader of an aggressive and militaristic country with ambitions that threaten world security. And the other is Kim Jong-il, North Korean dictator and the world's favorite bogeyman. For only one of them is responsible for the biggest, most unnecessary global military spending spree the world has ever seen.
How's it going, Bagram?
What you actually have had is a huge increase in expenditure on the military when objectively the world is actually more peaceful than it was.
This year, as the world struggles through its economic crisis, it will spend more than $1,500 billion on weapons and the militaries that wield them, the equivalent of $217 for every person on the planet.
In many countries, military budgets are increasing at a time of austerity. We'll cut everything else, Social Security even, but not the military budget.
The world has known three catastrophic arms races in the last century. First, led to the carnage of World War I. Second, fueled the fires of World War II.
Do you deny that the USSR has placed missiles and sites in Cuba? Don't wait for the translation, yes or no.
And the Cold War rivalry between the Soviet Union and America took the planet to the edge of a nuclear abyss.
The arms race of the Cold War was very much about competing ideologies and empires, very much east-west. And about 85% of all world military spending in the 1970s and 80s was spent by NATO and the Warsaw Pact. So it was very clear-cut, states or alliances versus each other. Now it is very different.
With the Soviet Union long gone, who are America's enemies today? According to Washington, North Korea and Iran are the two most dangerous states on the planet.
Allahu Akbar.
Yet neither is even on the top 15 highest spenders on their militaries, and even allowing for the highest cost manufacturing in the West, the US outspends the rest of the world on a dramatic scale. The league table of top arms spenders shows Western nations and countries allied to the United States occupying 12 of the top 15 spots. Between them, America and its allies are responsible for more than 70% of all military spending. Only China and Russia break up the dominance of this pro-American alliance.
We'll reform our defense budget so that we're not paying for Cold War-era weapon systems we don't use.
But whatever he says, President Obama is increasing America's defense spending, not cutting it. The country he leads now spends 53 cents of every tax dollar on its military, more than it did during the height of World War II.
The United States runs on threats. We have enemies out there, many of them imagined, some of them real, but even the real ones are magnified in our imagination.
And if you thought the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq were driving US military spending alone, think again. Of the $708 billion military budget for the coming year, just $159 billion is earmarked for special spending on the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And remember this? Presidents Obama and Medvedev pledging to slash their arsenals of nuclear weapons.
The United States and Russia have agreed to the most comprehensive arms control agreement in nearly 2 decades.
Odd then that just a month later, President Obama asked Congress for an additional $7 billion to spend on upgrading America's nuclear weapons in 2011, a 10% increase on this year's budget.
We've done no real change in our thinking. It's almost like the momentum of the Cold War 20 years later has not gone away.
And America's military deals with its allies ensure that the US is also the world's biggest trader in the global arms bazaar. In 2008, it sold $37.8 billion of weapons, 2/3 of all international arms deals. But if the actual threat of global war has diminished, what is driving America's willingness to fuel the global arms race?